Alright, welcome. My name is Lawson. I'm a sport management major here at the West Virginia University, working on my master's degree. This is just a little bit of overview of my Capstone project that I just recently finished. So, my topic was about women's collegiate athletics. It's a huge one for me. The reason why I chose this kind of topic, I was an intern here at the sport marketing department. Had a blast. It was very interesting experience. I got to work with a lot of non-revenue sports as well as a lot of women's athletics. And I noticed a huge gap between obviously the football and basketball side of men's versus a lot of non-revenue and especially the women's side. It was a tough topic for me. I wanted kind of a challenge. As you know, most people don't really want to do a lot of research into women's athletics, so that's why I kind of chose this topic. My title is right there, The Marketing Plan, Examining Women's Collegiate Athletics. So this is a little bit of an intro. Obviously, millions of dollars are invested into college sports. You look at the NCAA with TV revenue, especially with the huge one CBS deal not too long ago, making over $100 million, is outrageous. You look at the ticket sales as well as the apparel. A lot of people realize there's a lot of apparel and other accessories kind of sold throughout the stadiums. Sport is in our everyday lives. You can't turn the corner without seeing sport. You know, magazines, especially newspapers, they have their own section dedicated to it. So it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal, and that a lot of research needs to be done to kind of control this. And then, of course, it's male-dominated sports are the most popular. You look at it, the top revenue sports, especially in college, basketball and football, all male sports. And this kind of dates back to the Greek times, where a lot of the original sports were designed for males, you know, male versus male. But I think when society continues to evolve, it should kind of reflect that there is an opportunity for other people, especially women, to be able to participate. So a little bit about the rationale. Obviously, most people realize the reason why I did this, I saw a huge gap between the men's and the women's athletics. What I mean by gap, I saw funds, media attention, and administration help. There was just a huge gap. Obviously, I think because of the way the football and basketball make a lot of revenue, they want to push more towards that, get more people involved, make more money for the department, which is understandable. But there needs to be more of a push for women's athletics. There needs to be increased awareness for women's athletics, like I mentioned. There's just a lack of attention. And I want to talk a little bit about it later. I noticed with the survey that I did, there was just a lot of people pretty much stated there's not enough media attention, I just couldn't get excited about it. There's a lot of lack of research as well. When I was doing all this research, I noticed there's just not a lot done. There is a good bit of done about Title IX and the participation increasing, which is obviously huge. But there is still this lack of research. And then there's a lack of a relationship between the marketing and women's athletics. When I was working with the marketing department, I just noticed there was obviously more push towards men's. I think they did okay effort here, especially with the women's athletics, but I thought a better effort could be pushed. So a little bit about the literature review. Obviously, Title IX is a huge one. 1972 was an educational amendment. Not a lot of people realize this. A lot of people thought, Title IX, they always think it just helps increase women's athletics. But it actually was an educational amendment to increase the involvement for women, give more equality. This also kind of trickled down to the athletics as it transitioned to. It also gave women a legal voice in the fight. What I mean by this is they finally had a legal voice to say, hey, you can't do this, I need better effort. And then a huge benchmark here for this one was the U.S. Supreme Court case, the Franklin versus Gwinnett County Public Schools in 1992. This is the first big case that gave women monetary damages for instances of Title IX backlash, so to speak. And like I said before, Title IX was a huge benchmark for the future of not only education, but athletics as well. Looking at the masculinity in sport, like I mentioned, in ancient Greek times, the ancient Olympic times, male versus male was a huge thing. That was just people were known for sports, fighting male versus male, like a battle, especially in the Roman battles. But what a lot of people don't realize is this you would think it would evolve, but it's still in this society today. There's this natural selection of gender roles. What it means by that is you look at it at a young age, we're learned to how to act as a male or female. There's set standards and set roles. So if people kind of set out of the norm, it throws people off a little bit. So when the masculinity in sport, sport is usually designed for males. People understand that. They think of it as masculine. But when women actually participate, they seem to be, a lot of people think of it as they act like more masculine, which is kind of an understatement. And like I mentioned, roles are learned at a young age. This kind of learning at a young age, I believe it was called the social organization of gender in society. Basically saying that at a young age, we learn how to act as men or females, and we stay that way. It's kind of a natural selection, so to speak. So then a little bit about the status of women's athletics. Title IX growth. Obviously I mentioned Title IX is a huge benchmark, but it grew tremendously. So almost 43% of college athletes are women. Now this study was done in 2008, 2009, so almost 182,000 plus students were women athletes. Compared to men, obviously the percent was pretty high compared to recent years, especially when the First Amendment started. There's been a huge higher participation. You look at it, since 1972, the participation at the youth, high school, and at collegiate level has been huge. But there's still a gap between the monetary support between men and women. You look at it, the revenue spent, the expenses spent is a tremendous gap. The NCAA estimates to make about $800 million in revenue yearly. The problem is, a study done that was researched about from 2003 to 2009, the estimated amount spent on men's versus women, there's a huge gap. The expenses were more for the men. About $20 million were spent yearly for men's athletics versus only $7 million for women's. This could be because of this type of sport. Football has more expenditures, more expenses, but it could be because they want to put more effort into men's who kind of create more revenue, more excitement. But then also look at women as a target market. Those are interesting factors. Status of women in athletics. Not a lot of people think of women as a target market. It was originally thought as an afterthought for marketing. 38% of college football fans were female. This study was done by ESPN in 2014, kind of reviewing college football fans, and a high percent, more than I would have actually thought, were college football fans. So when I look at this, I also saw a study was done, said the NFL was favored over more popular women's sports like figure skating, tennis, volleyball, etc. So women do like sports. The problem is they're not transitioning to the women's teams. They're not very interested. And it's a sad thing because you look at it as you would think more women would want to participate and be engaged into athletics for women. However, football, basketball, etc., those male-dominated sports are more entertaining for them to watch. So fan engagement was a topic I was kind of interested in. One thing, there was not a lot of research done, for fan engagement. But the ones I saw kind of compared a lot of stuff that wasn't really about sports, but kind of related to this topic. You can see there's social media positive relationship with TV ratings. So there was a study done that kind of looked at the relationship between Twitter, Facebook, all the social medias, versus with connection to television shows. And the study showed that there's a huge huge positive relationship between social media and television ratings. So TV shows who were highly involved in Twitter had a higher TV rating because of, obviously, there's the use of social media while watching TV, tweeting, things like that, kind of being active into the show. And then, like I said, the social media is a new highway of information, pretty much. Nowadays, everything is instant gratification. So people need their information quickly. They want it directly onto their phone, tablet, etc. So this is the new information highway. People don't want to wait the whole day for the newspaper and figure out what happened the day before. With that, engaged fans are more likely to attend events. So similar to the TV ratings, if you look at it, people who were watching TV were also on Twitter. So Twitter, when they tweeted out a lot and were more active, they made them want to watch the TV show more. Same thing with the sport fans. People who are engaged more, either into social media or into the game itself, with promotions, stuff like that, want to attend more. Like I said, in-game promotions, social media involvement, etc. You look at a lot of teams now are doing more social media stuff, like retweet for enter 2 tickets, stuff like that. It gets people involved and gets people excited about the event. But one thing I was also looking at is there's new avenues for engaging fans. Obviously, women's athletics have tried, the normal social media, stuff like that, but they're not getting people involved. One aspect that I've kind of did a little bit of research on was video games. If you look at it, video games is a huge growing popular kind of avenue, so to speak. In 2010, they were estimated as a worldwide growth of $67 billion, and estimated in 2015, so next year, as $112 billion. So it's a huge interest. You see every youth participate in video games, play it every day. The research done was thinking about 30% of adolescents play video games almost daily. So it's obviously a huge avenue. The only problem is there's amateur issues. So with EA Sports, a huge video game producer, they used to do NCAA football every year, but recently they just cut that off because of amateur issues. They had to pay a lot of athletes money to use their likeness or image. So there's a little bit of a gap there now. The video game with amateurism with NCAA is having a huge kind of deal. But there's one way that women's athletics could kind of sneak into. If they can fix the amateur issue with the athletes' images and things like that, I think it'd be huge. Because video games is a new avenue that should be attacked. $112 billion estimated by next year is humongous. So that's something to definitely look into. So marketing for women's athletics, obviously, women were thought as an afterthought. Pretty simple. There's nothing. In the past, women were just never thought as marketers in the marketers' eyes. But sport and women have become closer. You notice with more commercials through them, more participation, not necessarily in team sports, but just participating in sport and being healthier and active citizens. There's an increasing female workforce and buying power. So Forbes in 1997, which is a little bit outdated, but still gives you kind of the idea of it, said that women accounted for almost $1 trillion annually in the U.S. for buying power. They participated that much into buying that they spent that much, which is huge. And that's in 1997. That's only been increased since then. Women have now been more of a attractive market for sport marketers, but there's still kind of an unsaturated market, which I'll kind of touch on a little bit later. Winning, and now that's another thing. Winning increases attendance too, which is a terrible thing to look at. But from research, from the research that I've done, from the survey that we did, we saw that winning just helps teams get people in. They'll get more interested in teams winning, especially if they can get to championships, things like that. So marketers have a tough kind of handle on this if the team's not winning. They have a tough part on their hands for sure. Overlapping sports too is a huge problem. If you look at it, there's more options for fans nowadays. With being men's and women's athletics, there's just more options, especially in the fall and winter time. You look at it as soccer can have a game on Friday night, football Saturday, break on Sunday, and then you have Monday, you could have volleyball, you can have anything. So there's just overlapping sports with, especially multiple times. I even noticed here at the university, they'll have multiple events in the same day. So it's very tough for people to attend all games, so they pick the one that's they're most interested in. And this one needs to be focused more on the specific target market. If you think about it, the football game's usually on Saturday. Let's say at noon. There's usually a Friday night game for soccer. But you'll think about it, you're not going to have the same people who attend the football game to attend the soccer event. You have to really target your specific market, as well as hope and push for the slight advantage of getting people to come. But if you look into a specific target market, if you project them, they're going to come. Obviously, you can get a few people coming from the football fan base, but really you need to push for your target market. So just a little bit about the goals and the outcomes and a little bit of the benefits from this study that I did. The goals, pretty simple. Just do some research on the background of women's athletics. Answer questions on how athletics are marketed. Receive a minimum of 80 completed surveys. A couple of the goals. Provide a better vision for marketers for women's athletics. I wanted to do this. I worked with my mentor, who was an assistant director for marketing here at the university. Looking to him, kind of get some little bit of a feedback from him, and hope that I could kind of give him some information, and hope that maybe he can use this for his future. And also present a new plan to real life marketing departments in hopes of seeing a plan in action. That's what I was kind of talking about. I'm really hoping to push this to him, see if there's some stuff that he can help him out, as well as maybe design a little bit of a plan that I could see in action here in like an event or some sort to see if it really does work. And then a little bit of the benefits, or who benefits. Sport marketers, big one. If they can use this study and research to help increase attendance for women's athletics, perfect. And then also the female participants in athletics, either future or present. It's a huge deal. Like I said, sports are in our everyday lives. So we need to let other people, kind of sports for all, let everyone participate. So those female participants, those athletes that are coming up, if we can help them increase a little bit of attendance and engagement of fans just a little bit, it's going to help them in the long term as well. So just some methods that I used for the study. Did a literary review, as you saw. And then a consumer and fan survey developed on pretty much 3 questions. These 3 questions were kind of generic ones that I wanted to kind of surround the whole study about. So the big one: why do students of major Division I universities lack attendance in most of women's sports on campus? This is a big one. I want to reach out to students. You get the students involved, you can get more people involved after that. Especially with university students is the biggest one. How can marketing create interest in the fans to attend and be active supporters of women's athletics or sports? Excuse me. This one, marketing side. I wanted to see how kind of generic, how marketing can increase the fan engagement and attendance versus just the winning of the team. And then the big one is, another big one is, can women's athletics stay competitive with men's athletics? I think there's a lot of problems. People want to try to compare women's athletics versus men's as kind of making it equal. I don't think, in most minds, I don't think they want equality. They just want equity. They just want to be able to have better revenue, have better attendance, have better attention, media fund, media, all that administration help, all that stuff. They just want a little bit better. They don't want it actually equal, because they realize that, but they just want better. Another method, consumer behaviors and motives study. The survey that I did was kind of focusing on the consumer, the fans, people who attend games, people who don't even attend games, and get an idea of why they don't attend, and then the behaviors and motives of why they do that. So a little bit about the results, kind of go through just a couple of main ones. I got 37 responses out of about 100 or so sent out. 46 for attainment was pretty low, a little bit lower than what I thought, but that's an effort that I probably should have put more effort into. But I try to reach out to a lot of organizations in town here, sport organizations, with the university. Just with students, it's a little bit tough trying to get responses. That's all. 54% were female, 78% were in that range of the 18 to 24 years old, which is pretty much that target market. I wanted to see why the younger kids weren't attending. And then obviously I wanted to see why the little bit older ones who just recently graduated, why they're not attending as well, or why they attend. I surprisingly got a little bit more female participants than I thought. I believe people who saw these surveys saw women's athletics, they figured it was only for, women can, take the survey, and not a lot of men really wanted to. And then, like I said, with the majority of them actually had some form of college degree or some sort of college experience. I think about 70-80% of these participants had that kind of experience. So they were involved in college somewhat to kind of get them recurring to come back. 69% of the fans used Facebook, Twitter, and other social media for sports information. That's huge. That was the main avenues for information. The more I research this, it's pretty sad. Most people nowadays are in social media. They all want their information that way. A few selected, TV, ESPN, SportsCenter, etc. Those TV shows. A few even had radio, but the big ones were the social media. And then a couple of the reasons why, or top factors for why people attend games, were team success, which is about 48%, price of ticket, which is about 32%, and then the weather, which is about 29%. There's no doubt about it, like I mentioned before, there's an increasing of winning, the increased attendance. So the team success is a huge one. If the team's not doing well, people don't want to attend. They may only come to watch another team play. Let's say if the lowest team in the division played like the best team, they're going to see the best team play versus their home team, which is unfortunate. A little bit of the results. 86 preferred attending men's events over women's. 86% of the participants said, I'd rather attend a men's event versus a woman. And I believe the percentage actually, I would say it's that high because masculinity over sports is a huge one. I actually think it's a tad lower than I would expect because I think people who took the survey were trying to help me out by saying, oh yeah, I'm attending a women's event over a men's, but I think in reality, I think it would be a very higher percentage. 59% said there's not enough funds or effort put towards women's athletics. It's pretty simple. Most people agreed there's just not enough effort put towards media attention. And when I did have a section for where you could write in information, like kind of a paragraph of your opinion. A lot of people put, there's just not enough media attention. I can't get excited about it. There's just no excitement. People want to go to events where multiple people want to attend. I've had a surprising number of people say, I would go if some of my friends would want to go, but they don't want to. So that's the problem. We have to make it a more fan-friendly, more excitement for people to attend. One interesting question I kind of threw in there too. I asked if people thought sexuality had a place in women's athletics. Surprisingly, 54% said that they do have a place in athletics. A lot of people kind of got this question a little bit confused, which is kind of be understandable. I kind of worded it a little bit different, but I was pretty much asking, with marketing, do you believe that sexuality in women's athletics can help marketing? Do you believe that women, female athletes be able to, be in magazines wearing, very skimpy clothing or acting in a very sexual manner can help these athletics and kind of get them going? And surprisingly, 54% agree that there is a place for that. And this image here, you might be able to see here, is the Brandy Chastain, one of the biggest images in the early soccer world. She took her shirt off after a big goal victory, showing her sports bra. That was a big one. A lot of people had a lot of backlash about that. But I thought it was a great image. If men can do it, why not women? Is it equal? So a little bit about the conclusion. There's obviously the lack of attention from media, especially even administration, funds. All that was just a lack of attention. There's obvious disconnect from fans. I've noticed that with women's athletics, you only see a couple families and people who are really involved, families from the athletes, stuff like that, are involved into these sports for the women. There needs to be more of a connect towards people who may want to attend but just need a reason to, whether it's free giveaways, more incentives, etc. There needs to be more of a connect with engagement. And then the entertainment value is very low. Like I mentioned, with the survey, a lot of people just stated, I can't get entertained by it. It's not exciting to me. I'd rather watch men's. And I believe, obviously there is like the type of game, especially like basketball. A lot of people compare men's basketball versus women's basketball is more exciting for men's because of dunks, etc., and fast pace. But I believe that's just an excuse for people. I think there is just overall women's athletics are not exciting for them. And then obviously there needs to be a better effort between administration and marketing. Obviously football and basketball are the biggest revenue ones. They're going to push more money towards that. But I think there needs to be a kind of a social responsibility to get people to say, you know, hey, you need to put more effort into women's athletics. And I think if the administration gets more involved and the marketing get more involved, it's going to have a trickle-down effect towards the teams, and then fans get more involved. And another huge thing I've noticed, there's kind of like a lack of administration for women in the collegiate departments. Obviously, the university here does a pretty good job. We even have assistant assistant athletic director, who is a female. But there needs to be more push for that. Diversity is a huge thing now. We need to get more people involved, more people of different cultures, different backgrounds, to kind of collectively get a better product. Overall, I had a blast on this project. It was a tough topic for me. I wanted to kind of challenge myself, and I thought I did a pretty well job on it. I had a blast. Hopefully this kind of project, this study, can help others involved. Hopefully kind of gives you a little pop in your head. Maybe we can research a little bit more in hopes to get this athletics pretty going for you. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and God bless.